Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. Please join. There are a couple of seats here, here. All right, shall we start? It's a typical Cisco presentation, so I have 45 minutes and 145 slides, so please bear with me. It's important to cover and achieve the right level of frame rate. It's important to have this fluidity. Yeah, so you know that very well. So this year, I'm very proud to say that Cisco is the technology partner of confidence. We've been supporting this conference for many, many years since the very inception. We are very proud of it. We are continuing it, and we'll be certainly continuing in the future. So it's really great to be here. And today, I'd like to spend some time to share with you some of my experiences over the last year that are, let's say, that actually my life recently. I don't live in the office or on the road. I live in the SOC right now. We've built one of our global security operations centers in Krakow. It's a pretty large, pretty state-of-the-art facility, but it's not about the facility itself. It's about running the whole operations, and I'd like to share with you the operational perspective that we have for security, for running the SOC, for maintaining the SOC, for producing value out of the SOC. Many of you doing security need to justify your existence in your company. It's many times the case, right? So it's one of those facts that not everybody really embraces how security is important today. So I'd like to remind myself those times when I was, younger and I had lots more hair, and they were not so gray. So there were great times. I did some plenary sessions in the past on confidence. One of those was on identity. And in cybersecurity, identity for attribution, for saying really who is it. If you find a threat, if you find a compromise, to attribute this to someone is really important. And we strive to do it, especially if we have an enterprise environment, which we can control, which we can influence, which we can monitor, which we can achieve this visibility. It's not for the global internet. It's for the typical environment that we can control and we can influence. The other session 3 years ago on network security treasures. Those presentations are on YouTube, and I think they are a nice introduction to general perspective on the networking security side of the house, right? And last year, we did a presentation on threat hunting at Confidence. exactly 1 year ago, we started to build the SOC. Today, it's the SOC is open. We are running, and last year my boss came here to Krakow and he presented the threat hunting, exactly showing how we think and how we approach the security analytics, security investigations, and threat hunting, on-demand threat hunting. Some deeper approach to find threats, which are not 1 or 2 or 3 events that you can get out of many million that are being produced by your infrastructure and control points over the network and the endpoints. So last year we did a preso on how the threat hunting looks like. And today I'm going to share a little bit my perspective on the security operations itself. And we have the booth here. So please stop by for a casual conversation and share with us your perspective on the SOC. Right now, my feeling is that everybody in Poland, especially every larger enterprise, is saying, this is what I hear, we are building a SOC. Let's build it. And then people realize what it takes to build a SOC and operate it. And it's not about a nice room or a nice bunker if you are in, maybe in a more defense business. So it is not about the facility. It is, it is a collection of things that need to happen to make sense. And I believe, and we believe, that those are the 4 pillars. We need to have people, the right people. And in general, people in security are quite very smart, and when they get bored, they leave. So you better have something interesting to do. That's one thing. The second part is the analytics. So I have to analyze lots of data. How to do it? We are doing the managed SOC services for the outside world. We are working with really huge companies. We don't have a customer in Poland. Those are environments where you have 100,000 plus users, and you need somehow to protect and to hunt for the threats, to analyze them. And our product is a confirmed breach, confirmed exfiltration, compromise, whatever. There is a whole list of things, bad things that can happen. So, and how do you reach there, right? So the analytics part. And we have, basic analytics, advanced analytics, and super advanced analytics. I will talk about it a little bit later. The intelligence. Okay, a lot of people look for the threats. It's the security communities, it's the companies, it's the researchers, and we have all kinds of sources of information. Can I get the right sources? Why do I need this? Because I will never be as good as everyone together. And the technology. The problem that we have today is that, on average we get, let's say, 10 terabytes of log telemetry, net flow telemetry, structured and unstructured logs, machine exhaust, not to mention the full packet capture, which we strive for. How much of that can you store, really, to confirm the breach with the highest level of fidelity? Once you see the logs, once you see the flows, can you confirm using a packet capture tool set? How much traffic can you store on a 10 gig link? That's the problem today. It immediately explodes into tens of terabytes. And to store it, to index it, to make it easily accessible for the SOC operations staff, it's a huge challenge today. Honestly, if you want to do it right, there is a data center, for example, thousands of servers, which do something. They produce business value. This is the perspective of any company. And you would need to build maybe a second data center just to store and analyze. If you want really to have pickup for weeks retrospectively, or months ideally. So it is not going to happen because, especially in Poland, because we don't produce oil. Oil is important because once you pump it, it can produce infinite amounts of cash until the oil runs out. Here in Poland, we have the intellectual capital. We don't have the oil, so we have to be smart. So my perspective on the people, and there is no really firm, let's say, well-defined and agreed list of people and roles in the SOC, in my opinion. It very heavily depends on what you can get. But first thing that we need to understand is, hey, SOC is 24/7. So how many human beings I need to look at the stuff? Right? A lot. Minimal, I think, 15. It's minimum. It's absolute minimum. And there are those roles that we think are important. And we organize it internally under two pillars. The first pillar is the so-called threat side of the house. Security analysts in tiers. So you have to define what a tier 1 analyst does. The tier 2 analyst, the security investigator, IT versus OT. Because you are an energy company and you are deploying sensors everywhere, for example. So it's totally different protocols, totally different background you need to have, totally different knowledge, or substantially different skill set, right? So this is something to be defined because it has to work. The information between those people has to be exchanged, not only within the SOC. This is why you build it. People sit there and can really closely cooperate together. This is the huge main benefit of building a SOC other than having a shiny screens with lots of dashboards on your LCD wall. They also, by the way, need to produce value. I will show you some examples of that. The second part of the house is the security engineering. Especially at Cisco, it's pretty important, right? We are quite a huge, manufacturer of gear. So if we work with some company and they say, hey, can you manage, my, source fire IPSs for us? Can you tune them? So this company believes that who can do it better than the vendor? There is no other vendor because we produce the stuff, so we better know it inside out. This is the perspective, right? Or the firewalls, or the web security proxies, or the email security from the Iron Port days, and other gear. We are, just recently, OpenDNS is a part of Cisco family, right? So, and people are throwing technology at us, and we have to make it work. So this is the security engineering, people who have deep expertise into how technology works. And this is, I believe, those are two different things, threat side and the network security side. And those are complementary. People sitting in one place, they can really learn from each other. One thing is about analyzing the data, making sense, and produce a value, which is a confirmed breach. And the second is about managing the stuff, the gear. And we can have the incident and change engineering. The incidents related to the infrastructure itself. Infrastructure provides control points and visibility. For example, produces NetFlow telemetry. And you can store 1 year retrospective of NetFlow, unsampled NetFlow. This is what we do, to see every single flow for further investigations. Because nobody today believes that you can see all the threats and breaches the moment they arrive, right? you will see them maybe in 1 week, or 3 days later, or 1 month later. Or, you know, if you read Verizon breach report from some time ago, 254 days later. This is the industry average. So if you can limit time to detection from 254 to less, where you are industry leading champion, basically. Right? And there is a whole bunch of supporting functions, like the automation engineering, software development. It depends on what your strategy is. Do you use homegrown tools or some industry, commercial tools, or you build your own big data system, like many bigger companies, especially financials, try to do. We build our own stuff to have our own R&D, right? So this is the different perspective. And now the threat intelligence and detection engine development. Questions we get, hey guys, can you catch this, and that in that order? So you have to write the detection based on the engines that you have, based on Snort engine, based on the Bro engine, based on the flow and analytics, all the different sources of information that are totally, you know, coming from separate worlds and separate network devices entities. Then we have the data science, which is huge today. So at the bleeding edge of the industry, how much can I squeeze out of the huge amounts of data that I collect? Maybe something more than in the traditional, we even can say legacy CM approach. Hey, this is the event, this is the trigger, this is the rule, this is the incident, right? No, we can squeeze much more. And then non-technical functions, because you run some projects. If you know you have 30 people in the SOC, and everybody's smart, of course, and everybody develops their own tools, so people will start developing the same stuff because they see the same challenges and limitations of the things they can do with the current tool set, and there will be immediate overlap in the hours or hundreds of hours eventually of work they do. So it is purely soft function, really to understand what is needed. And because people in security tend to focus on the technology itself, sometimes they don't like to communicate with the external world, which means because they get you know, distracted. And of course, you have to respect that, right? Security researcher, needs to focus on deep technical stuff. But sometimes you have to discuss what is going on, right? Maybe we need to acquire, maybe we need to build, maybe we need to partner with someone to get our tool set and capabilities for detection to the next level. Right? The same for escalations, where we have two kinds of SOC at Cisco. One's internal, which is called the CSIRT, the Cisco Security Incident Response folks, who are protecting Cisco itself. And we are a copy-paste of them on steroids in terms of size and scope, and we do the same for our external customers. But all the background, all the 20 years of experience is coming from the CSIRT in our org. And for the second pillar is the analytics, right? We can say there are three analytics approaches. The rule-based. You write a Snort SIG, right? Or any kind of SIG or any kind of atomic or compound detection on the network traffic, for example, or some artifact of the endpoint. If you have visibility into the endpoint, you can put something there to see what is executed. It's great. It's even better. Then we have the statistical rules-based analytics, and somebody has to sit at it and really figure out what we can squeeze to see the anomalies. It's a full-time job. Not to mention the data science-centric analytics, where we have, let's say, some organization, let's assume it's my company, and I need to customize my thinking of the anomalies based on what I'm seeing. Maybe they say, hey, I have a guest Wi-Fi network. Please don't, touch this. It's infected anyway. You don't have to monitor open, logically separated guest Wi-Fi. It's a waste of time. Just, put some, proxy towards the internet to block really bad things and things that can get you in trouble with law enforcement. And don't detect the threats; they are there anyway. So please focus on the internal high-value targets inside the company, right? So this is the analytics. And of course, there is a huge research today, and many of you may be involved in that. With OpenDNS, I will give you an example of pretty interesting thinking. You know the Fourier transform, right? Converting the time domain world into the frequency domain world. So those guys, the scientists in OpenDNS, applied the same methodology for analyzing large amounts of DNS traffic. Because it's a cloud-based service where you have this secure, recursive resolver. This is what really OpenDNS is. It gives you a lot of tools to do the investigations, to do the blocking, to do the reputation, to do the categorization, and basically to see what is going on inside the DNS transactions. And today, malware, I think, 95% of malware uses DNS in general, so it's a huge value source of information. And what they did is they said, okay, let us take the spectrum and see how it looks like normally. So how the resolution in the frequency domain of all the people inside the company look like normally. And let's build a model on that. And then apply this model to the current situation of T plus 1 hour or T plus 24 hours, and suddenly you have some spikes. Because you can see, for example, new phishing campaign coming and people getting infected with ransomware, or some new threat arriving. People start resolving funny domains, algorithmically generated domains. Any kind of different distribution in terms of frequency of the DNS resolution than normal. And we try to apply that here. So this is purely scientific project that we are bringing to the product, right? So this is what we try to do as well, and make sense of it to enhance the efficacy. Okay, so machine spends more time, but human being spends less. Because you cannot just have additional 100 people because you have 100 terabytes of logs on top, right? We have some social programs to grow our population in Poland, but even if it starts now, we will have new security people in, maybe 16 to 20 years. So now the security intelligence, the threats. Where do I get the knowledge about the threats? This is how we do it. We are here, and we are getting it from anywhere. Either if it is a community feed, commercial feed. If we need to acquire something, great. If we need to partner, we can exchange. Hey, you give me, we give you. Actually, we have a program run by several programs run by our Talos colleagues. The Talos is the vulnerability research team, security research and operations, and SourceFire vulnerability research. Those three teams are now Talos, which is our security, basically security threat R&D. What happens here is, what we do today is, for example, we have the EGIS program. We have also other programs to partner with companies to exchange security intelligence. We do it. As well as we can ship the SourceFire box and put there the experimental signatures and detections, ship it for free. But you have to turn it on at your internet edge. So we protect you and we give you the report, and we apply the experimental signatures, which are not yet shipped into the official SRU, the rule updates, which are twice a week in the SourceFire example, in the Firepower example. But you get the, most up-to-date protection on the rule-based side of the house. And we have the PCERT, right? We have products. Those products have vulnerabilities, so we get info in advance as internally from our colleagues in PCERT if we are going to announce some vulnerability. I mean, we are producing a lot of gear, a lot, and it's 30 years, you know. So it's huge, right? And also partnering with our CCERT colleagues, so with our internal SOC. This is our approach. It's better to partner because it's hard to develop your own security intelligence. Only maybe if you are a service provider or a huge enterprise, you can develop something. But it's better to connect with the rest. I think you agree here. So we are seeing a lot. Recently, with the OpenDNS acquisition, we are seeing about 2% of worldwide DNS traffic. This is the estimation, which may be small, but if you consider, you know, what is internet, it is a substantial sample of what is going on. For email, it's 35%. So this is where the telemetry is generated. It's a lot of data that we use. So this is the security intelligence part. It's critically important because without that, it's, you know, having one eye blind. And now the technology. I need to acquire all this data, the logs, the flows, the full PCAP, the, you know, product logs, the structured and unstructured telemetry, machine exhaust, server logs, some logs from critical applications, maybe, that are worthwhile, and I need to build parsers for them, because it's a custom application, and maybe who cared about this specific application to produce something meaningful for the external consumption. Now we have the attribution part. It's good to know who is it, if you can do it in controlled enterprise environment, and then enrich it with security intelligence, right? Enrichment. What is enrichment? It's adding things like reputation of the IP addresses, the BGP autonomous system, the neighbors of this autonomous system, the web reputation, the email reputation, the geolocation, and so on and so on. All those kinds of contextual data we can pull and enrich what we already have, right? And now if an analyst looks at this, it starts to make some sense. Because if you look at 4-octet IP address, or if you're a cyborg, I mean, all of you are, but you know, probably not everyone remembers all the IPv4 addresses and what they really are, not to mention V6. So then I need to acquire this into my system, right? Ingest, storage, search, compress, and so on. And then I need to apply some meaningful actions on this stored information to produce value. To the right, you have, I am producing value. The value that I produce in the SOC is a confirmed breach, confirmed threat. And as you can see, we have things like deterministic analysis, automated hunts, threat hunting. We talked about it last year, exactly. What is a threat hunting, how we do it. And, you know, see the events, do the machine learning. Right now, you know, at Cisco Live in Vegas in July, we are going to announce self-learning networks. What is it? It's a massively distributed agent-based flow analytics system that has zero knowledge about the environment. And in some very well-defined time periods, it analyzes builds a model of the whole network, which can be 2,000 routers, switches, and, you know, tens of thousands of hosts, and builds a model. And when it changes, when the situation changes, it will show you what changed. So this is what we strive to do. It's called SLN. There are some presentations on that, so you may look into this. And we are going to ship it as an agent for every single iOS XE box, for every router switch in the universe. Or the new ones, not the switch from 2000, because it would die. if you run something like this. But modern infrastructure is, you know, multi-core, Intel-based. It can run a lot of stuff in the control plane. So this is what we do here. So to sum it up, this is our proposed framework, and this is how we do it in our SOC. We are acquiring the data, lots of data. We try to enrich it with the contextual information. We apply also security intelligence feeds, everything, our internal, external, community. And then we parse, enrich, alert, and apply the tooling, automated hands and manual tooling. And of course, there is the facility itself. How to build a facility. It's good at least to have a room where people are sitting together. If you can have a bigger room and more people, it's even better, right? So, because we operate in an environment where we need to tap into the infrastructure of some remote customer, in this case, we are sitting in the SOC and we are shipping a lot of gear, like full 42 rack unit rack with 100 terabytes of storage for PCAP and for other telemetry. And let's say this is the current status quo for today. Of course, it will change in the future because the density grows. And we are connecting from our mothership in the SOC, and all the analytics is being done on premise. So the data stays there because you have all the kinds of regulations. It's a commercial environment, right? You can have totally different view on that if you run your own SOC for your own company, right? The customer is your company. And how to build a SOC. Let me give you a couple pictures from the build out. This is how it looks like. This looked like exactly 1 year ago. It's basically hole in the ground. So how do you get from here then to here? This was, let's say, September, October. This is how it looks today. So this is our SOC. The main SOC floor. And of course, why is it good to have a nice SOC? Because people are more productive together, right? So it may look different. You may have all kinds of thoughts on that, but what we really believe is that people sitting together just can do much, much more. And now, if you have all of this, so people, analytics, intelligence, and technology, let's start to do something. I mean, put into one place everything that we already know, and this is called a playbook. And the playbook, how to build a playbook, is, a story on its own. And there is a book on that by our colleagues from the CSERT. Those two guys on left and right are our investigators in the Cisco incident response team. And they wrote this O'Reilly book, Crafting the Infosec Playbook. Why do I need to have a playbook? Because sooner or later I will find out that there are some hunts, there are automated complex detections that I can put in place, script them, automate it, and run them regularly, and they produce huge value. And I don't want to do it manually. I don't want to reinvent the wheel every day. So this is where I put it. Can you give me your playbook? Question. No, nobody will share their own playbook. Because also it will be not exactly relevant to somebody else's environment. And the next thing that is good to have is the hot threats dashboard. I need to focus on something. Some phishing campaigns, or some exploit kits, or some threats, or some vulnerabilities are of huge importance to my company. And I need to focus on them specifically on top of my day-to-day activities. And it's good to have a threats dashboard, hot threats dashboard, right? So I have those threats and I know what is hot this week. So this is also something that we use. And what is the output of the operations? On top, in this inverted pyramid, you have the, let's say, the events that are coming from threat intelligence or are coming directly from the devices, and then you apply logic, and then you apply SOC specialists in order to work on the high fidelity events and then produce a confirmed breach. Okay, so this is what happened. This was the patient 0. This was how it happened. These are the artifacts that are evidence that it happened. This is what you need to block to mitigate it in the future. This is what would be the next steps for incident response. And for forensics, it's a separate story. For forensics and IR, we don't do it from inside the SOC. Normally, we parachute people who do only IR to our customer's premise. They jump from the plane and they arrive on the roof and they do the forensics. So we can enjoy sitting in the SOC. So of course, justifying the existence of the SOC, because it's a huge investment. It's a really tremendous investment for any company. This is why this whole, outsourcing perspective arrived, because it's just extremely expensive. And if you are not producing a lot of oil, or if you don't have a printer and you can print $100 bills, it is really hard and maintain a world-class SOC. Because it's not only about the people or the nice facility which I was showing you, it's about to put it all together. So a lot of gear, a lot of analytics, a lot of research. Somebody has to do it and work on it. And the security analyst and investigator doesn't have time to, to work on machine learning algorithms, because new threats arrive and we need to analyze them. So the team has to be much broader with more supporting functions. So metrics are important to see how we are doing, right, in the SOC. Also some reporting, an example report, a daily report that we deliver to some large company, right? Summary of threats. Somebody has to read it. I mean, they would like to see us and hear what is going on and how they are doing. Do they need to maybe implement some new mitigation techniques, or implement some control points or visibility points on the network, because maybe we are blind in some parts of the infrastructure. And of course, always presenting the reasons of existence. So all kinds of nice metrics at the executive level are more than very welcome. Hey guys, wow, I just spent 10 million on this nice facility. What are you doing here? The CEO just comes in, right? So it's good to have all kinds of metrics, which is easy to do, but to do it in a nice fashion, to explain what you are really doing to a person who is not even a technical person, it's a challenge to translate to the business language. Sorry to use the word business on such a highly technical conference, but this is the reality. And of course, SOC is about, continuous protection. It's not for today, tomorrow, it's hopefully forever, although, apocalypse is coming. So we need to tell a story of continuous protection, what we are really doing and how it is impacting the environment, right? And it's good to have a story to tell. Hey, I implemented this. Now I have less actionable tickets. Or now huge phishing campaign, which is, you know, getting through from the site which I didn't expect. Or, you know, some new exploit hit, or, you know, my proxy didn't, you know, filter too well. Or there's a new category of threats which I don't know today, because today is Thursday, and on Monday the threat landscape globally will be different, right? So there is a story to tell behind the SOC, and it's good to have a story. And yes, that's important, because for some people it's just, you know, they come in, they look at the screens, wow, nice dashboards, excellent, fantastic. But what's behind the hood? What is the dynamics of what we are doing? How it impacts the cybersecurity posture of a network or environment that I am supposed to be protecting. So this is important. And well, the last thing I wanted to mention is, you know, technology is a lot. But one of my favorite quotes from all-time security guru, Bruce Schneier, is that, you know, technology is certainly not enough. So I hope this session gave you some perspective. I hope it was valuable. I hope you could extract some artifacts that you would store in your non-volatile memory. And please visit us at our booth. I'm once again very happy that we can be the technology partner of Confidence. Please visit us. We are still growing our team in every dimension. So please stop by just for a casual chat around security. Enjoy the rest of the conference, the rest of the day, tomorrow, and see you during the day. Thank you so much.